With the Premier League season starting next weekend, we're going to take a look at my predictions in who's going to finish where in this upcoming season, see who I think is going to get the title, who's going to finish in the Champions League positions, and as well who's going to be relegated, and see whether there's one or two surprises, and then come back end of the season, see how I did in comparison and how that all played out. But as always, don't forget to let me know in the comments below who you think will finish where and how you think it'll all play out, and who's your surprise team for the season. But to start off, we'll take a look who I think will finish in the relegation zone. To me, the three teams that I've got there are Leicester will be in 18th, Ipswich in 19th, and Southampton in 20th. I just don't think those teams quite have the quality after coming up that they'll be able to hang, and Southampton have done the time-old test of buying a bunch of new players, spending a ton of money, only to get rid of the players that helped them get promoted in the first place, and I just don't think that'll save them. It rarely actually works, and so I think that'll just cause them to slide right back down. They'll have no cohesion, no identity to start with, and so I think that'll cause them to struggle and go there. But as we move up the table, I think one team that I just expected to be I wouldn't be shocked, I should say, if they do end up sliding down into the relegation zone, is Everton. When you're constantly teetering on that edge, it can get tiring for the players and the fans and the management. So there's a point where that can crumble and you can slide down. And for such a historic club, it would be a shame. I enjoy watching the Merseyside derby, and it's always classic for the city, and so it's something you want to keep in the Premier League. But it's a case of, I just think there's a certain fatigue that comes with constantly battling that I wouldn't be shocked if they fall this season. But I've got it finishing just outside in 17th. To go with them in that lower mid-table spots, I've also got Bournemouth, I've got Brentford, actually in between there, and Nottingham Forest. I think, well, could have done this in a better order. So we've got it like that. So Everton in 17th, Forest in 16th, Brentford in 15th, Bournemouth in 14th, and then that one team just above them for 13th. So that's how it's all going to play out for that lower team. They can all be swapped around positions. There's always it always plays out a little differently in the fact of there's always one team that jumps up, but generally I think in that mix, it's why I've kind of gone the tier list of in that. I think they're in that general tier of that lower mid table. The positions may fluctuate. I'm going to keep it as the positions are for the purpose of checking later on to see if I could get anything particularly right, but in general I think that's kind of that tier that those teams fall into. And then as you move into that higher mid-table, that 8th to 12th, I think that's where you look at Wolves in 12th. I think you then got Brighton in front of them. I think you then get, I really should have done this in a better way. I think Palace will actually finish there. So we got 12th, 11th is Brighton, 10th is Villa, 9th is Palace, and then West Ham will be one just above them there. And this pseudo top 7 I think will be how it is for this upcoming season. Although there's been a lot of turmoil around these top clubs, I just think they do generally have that quality in them that I think they'll be okay, and there's still time in the transfer window to see some big changes. But in general, I just think the top sides are those, and that's kind of how it'll play out. But I wouldn't be shocked to see Aston Villa have a big jump like they did last year. I mean, they were really good, and so they can finish high. I just think there'll be a bit more comeback to reality this season. So that's where I've got them. In the Conference League, I've got Chelsea finishing 7th. I think there's just so much turmoil around that club, to be honest. There's so much uncertainty between the fans and the players, and who's after what the owners are after, and the identity they're trying to build. There's just too too much chaos that I can't see them making that big push for the top 4 this season. So I've just got them in 7th. I think they'll be disappointed. I wouldn't be shocked if the manager goes, but it's just that they've got to try and find an identity this season before they can really keep going. They can't just go out and keep spending all this money on players in hoping that will rebuild it. They've got to make sure they've got a structure they're actually trying to follow through on, and what they're trying to build, and the players they're buying, make sure they're buying the right players for the system. And so I just think this is going to be another struggling season for them. In that 5th and 6th range in Europa League, I've got Newcastle will be in 5th and United in 6th. I just don't think they quite have not necessarily the quality. I just think Newcastle a bit of a tumultuous season last season, weren't quite performed how they would have wanted, and so I think it's a big thing where they'll be better this season. They'll be competitive. I think they'll be close to that top 4 range. I just think they'll fall just outside of it as they then struggle to get into the Champions League positions. But it'll be a good bounce back, and hopefully get some their players being a bit fitter, because they did struggle with injuries last year. And then Manchester United, they're just... I spoke about Chelsea being turmoil. Feels like that is who Manchester are at this point. They're constantly in battles between the owners and the coaching staff, and then the fans, and it's just the actual expectations on the team when you compare really what they should be from the outside compared to the internal fan base who still see them as Manchester United and should be competing for league titles, and maybe eventually they should get back to there, but they're not at that point there. I think there's a big clear difference between the top 3 teams and then them, and so I think United will be closer to 7th than they will to 4th this season. So I've got them finishing in that Europa League spot, and it'll be interesting to see how Ten Hag goes after signing that contract extension in the last season, but we'll see if he can make the end of it. And then in the Champions League spots, we'll have Arsenal finishing in 2nd, Liverpool in 3rd, and it can be no surprise that I don't have City finishing in 4th, and then we may as well just throw City up at the top in the Champions League. But that's how I think that top 4 will finish out. I think Spurs will be set for a decent season under Ange. Obviously, as an Australian, I hope he does well. I think having that extra year, trying to really build that cohesion and understanding of what he's after, I think will be good for him. I think they'll be a lot better, but I just don't think... I think there's a big... They're in that almost like if there was another tier to themselves, you'd have the top 3, you'd have Spurs, and then you'd have Newcastle and United. Newcastle United and Man United. So I think they'll be a solid in 4th, which will be decent for them. See how that actually plays out for the fan base, whether they're happy with that or whether they want to be finishing higher. But I think 4th will be a decent finish for them. Then the top 3, same as last year. I think Liverpool finish in 3rd. Obviously, I hope we win the title. I just think a new season under Arne Slot is going to take some getting used to. Got hope based on the pre-season. Obviously, it's pre-season. It's not a lot you can write into that. But I think I take positives and hope just out of the way he's conducted himself and the fact of I think he'll be able to really transfer the ideas onto the players. I also think the fact the players had time knowing Jurgen Klopp was going to go, that meant they could mentally prepare for it, and being able to deal with that and know what they were coming into in a way. So I'm excited for it. I think it'll be an up and down season. I think it'll be a case of hit some really good form and then probably struggle a bit and bounce around. So that's how I expect that to go. But I think I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be exciting. And then Arsenal and City as the top 2. I just think City are too good. I think they've proven it the last near decade that they're the best team in the country. I think they're just they've got that cohesion. I think until there's something that seriously disrupts them, I think they're just going to keep winning. And so until Pep goes, until someone like KDB leaves, I think that'll be when you maybe see some turmoil and a team can kind of strike for them, or a big injury crisis. And touch wood, that doesn't happen. I never wish injuries on anyone, but I just think until something like that kind of happens and potentially kind of derails them, I just think they're gonna continue winning, and Arsenal will have another good season. I think they'll keep fighting, but I just can't see them getting over the top of City this season. But like I said, that's my predictions for this season. Let me know in the comments below who you think will finish where, who you've got winning, who you think will be relegated, and yeah, we'll take a look at the end of the season, see how it finished up. Thanks for listening. This has actually been a clip excerpt from my full podcast, The Armchair Athlete. So be sure to make sure after you've seen this video now, you click on the previous clips, maybe check out the full video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel going forward, and so you can stay tuned and see the full podcast in depth as well. And let me know in the comments below any topics you want me to discuss as well. But I appreciate you guys listening, and check out these videos around here. Thanks.